So I went out to watch Captain America Civil War, and I never felt more excited after watching a film. Everyone and everything in the film is spectacular. Even the development of Black Panther and Spider-Man was incredible. Two characters that haven't had their own movie to develop, and yet they felt so incredible in the movie. Not once did I feel anything was really lacking in the movie. Not to say that the movie was completely perfect, but I can't really say that I found a lot of problems with it. The movie was about Steve Rogers, Captain America, played by Chris Evans, rejecting the reorganization of the Avengers, finding it to limit the abilities of being a superhero, while Tony Stark, Iron Man, played by Robert Downey Jr., believes that if limits aren't made, then they would make them reckless and no better than the bad guys. Eventually, Bucky, played by Sebastian Stan, is framed for killing 12 United Nations members, including King T'Chaka, if I'm pronouncing that right. His son, King T'Challa, swears to kill him, having to wear the Black Panther outfit. Throughout the movie, it becomes one large fight of heroes against heroes, as a whole argument becomes a fight over Bucky and if the Avengers should have limits. Honestly, I love every performance in this movie. Marvel has this ingenious way of developing its characters quickly and properly. Their motives are understandable, and it doesn't matter whose side the audience is on, they will become sympathetic with both sides, as every single one is developed brilliantly. There was an introduction of the two superheroes in this movie too. Black Panther was definitely the most advertised, since he's the only one who's appeared more than once in the trailers. Black Panther was definitely one of those superheroes I haven't heard much about, but from what I was given, I was very interested to see him in this movie. I don't think I've really seen a superhero like him before. An African prince who gets a new title through inheritance. Interesting. Well, I can't say anything about the Black Panther. He's definitely won me over. Spider-Man has been both the hype and the rage of this movie. And the rage part was mostly because Spider-Man was being played by a 19-year-old. Sometimes it can really annoy me how people get angry over something that hasn't even been given a chance yet. Not only that, Spider-Man was always intended to be a high school or college student, because that's typically what a 19-year-old that read comic books is. Spider-Man was supposed to be a symbolism of the troubled teenager that can't seem to make it in life, but still important to other people. Spider-Man was always intended to be a troubled teenager, not an adult in his late 20s. With that doesn't mean I hate other Spider-Man movies just because they are adults. The Sam Raimi movies were able to star an adult as Spider-Man, and it made it work. Until the Spider-Man Homecoming comes out, I think Tobey is still the definitive Spider-Man of Hollywood. Tom Holland has a lot to live up to, but what he was given and what he gave was great start. Another thing that was wonderfully done was the action and the pacing. What really makes Marvel movies great is how well the action is done, and how it is done with great speed and agility. It's really creative how every character fights in their own unique way, and moments where Captain America and Bucky team up is like rhythm. The theme of the movie is just as good as its motives. In fact, it's what fuels them. It did what Batman vs. Superman tried so hard to do on the topic of lives lost when stopping the villains from taking over or destroying the world. It was done 10 times better because of one key difference: background and emotion. When Scarlet doesn't prevent a travesty from happening, it's devastating to her. And when Tony is called out for his arrogance that created Ultron, he feels impacted. It doesn't feel like one side is in pain and the other side doesn't pay much mind to it. It feels like a conflict that affects everyone on an emotional level. I just can't wait to see where this Civil War brings everyone. If the story does continue anyway. I did have some problems with the movie. One of the problems was with Hawkeye. To be honest, why is Hawkeye here? Why is he here at all? Other than to break Scarlet out and shoot Ant-Man off of an arrow, he doesn't really have much of a presence in this movie. If he was taken out, then the movie wouldn't change much. Scarlet could break herself out, and the Ant-Man arrow was really just fanboy service. It's disappointing that I honestly can't find this character really interesting, but he definitely didn't ruin the movie. He was honestly just there. Another unfortunate thing is that the villain of this movie is just some guy. And we just find out that he's just some guy who's the actual villain by pretty much most of the way into the movie. His actions and motives really do make a strong impact on the movie, but he's not a memorable villain. In fact, to be honest, I can't even remember his name. These are things that really degrade the movies. The fact that the villain is kind of forgettable. But it would be nice just to see a villain that is just very memorable and enjoyable, and it's not Loki. However, I do have another problem. It's the problem with pretty much just superhero movies in general that kind of focus on the, do you ever think about the casualties you make while saving a place? Why not the fact that we just save the entire world from complete mass destruction, and instead of that, we just got like a few people that have died? That's always something that bugged me. Like, the superheroes are literally trying their best at everything to save everyone, and yet people complain when they haven't got to them in time. There are only so many people, and they can't perfectly stop everything. The reason for Tony taking his stand at least makes sense because he created Ultron, and because of Ultron, it caused casualties. Unless you can consider the Ultron incident, there's not really any reason as to why the superhero should be put on blame for this. It's not really their fault that these bad guys killed people. It's like they're saying that they'd rather have the entire world get destroyed than having a few casualties. It is a good thing that they just moved on to the conflict with Buckley and the entire world. However, it does make it seem a little dodgy that they're just sort of forgetting this one plot point that Civil War was built over. Besides those problems, I had real fun watching this movie, and I honestly did feel like it was taking a lot more serious tone in Marvel. And as far as I'm concerned, this movie gets an A-. If you enjoyed this video, you can like and subscribe for more reviews of movies in theaters now. If you want to check out more movie reviews, I post written reviews once every Saturday on my Divine Art page. Right now I'm reviewing the Aladdin trilogy, so check that out if you want to.